So I did a poll a few months ago, and I was asking, how big is too big? To maximize vertical. Like, what are you guys talking about? Like, how big? Like, how big to maximize vertical? Man, y'all tripping, man. Now, as someone who has spent the last handful of years packing on a bunch of muscle, I went all the way from 150 pounds to 202 pounds at my peak. I think I have enough experience and knowledge to touch on this subject. I have enough weight variance, that's for sure. That's a difference of what, 52 pounds? So, you know, I have a little bit of knowledge on the subject and how it's impacted my body. So let's take John Morant, Anthony Edwards, and Zion Williamson. These are three guys with a ridiculous vertical jump, but three very different looking physiques. John Morant is obviously very lean and very skinny. Anthony Edwards has a little bit more muscle, but he's relatively lean still. And then you got Zion Williamson, who's just an absolute tank, who you could argue he's a little overweight. Now, one thing that all these three guys have in common is that they are all very, very strong relative to their body weight. And that is referred to as relative strength. So I would actually go ahead and guess that John Morant is the strongest out of the three relative to his body weight, just because he's so light and he's so skinny. I've seen him curl 50 pounds and I'm like, okay. I mean, the guy is like maybe 160, 170 pounds soaking wet. So I would guess that John Morant is actually the strongest of the three relative to his body weight. So obviously that's the first thing, relative strength. Now there's a couple ways you can go about getting relative strength or gaining relative strength. The first thing you can do is bulk and get exponentially stronger as you bulk. Obviously, if it's proportional, you're not making any gains. The second thing you can do is try to maintain your strength and cut, which is what I'm currently doing. I've done both of them. They both work great. You just gotta kind of gauge where you're at, where your body looks like. If you're kind of fat, to be honest, you're gonna start with the cut. If you're really lean and you don't got much to cut, you gotta go ahead and bulk up. But at different times, you're gonna end up doing different things. So eventually you'll get into mixing them, but you just gotta gauge where you're starting out. The second thing, and arguably the most important thing, take note of this, is that the examples I've used, they're all 2-foot jumpers, naturally. Obviously they can go off of one, but naturally speaking, they're 2-foot jumpers. The reason why this matters is because their ground contact time is higher than a 1-foot jumper. Why does that matter? Well, if you're heavier, you're technically increasing your ground contact time. So if you're a 2-foot jumper and you already have a decent ground contact time, you're not gonna be impacted as much by weight. However, if you're a 1-foot jumper and your ground contact time increases significantly, it'll have a huge impact on the amount that you can jump. You won't get nearly as high if your ground contact time increases by a decent amount of time. So when it comes to 1-foot jumping, you really wanna limit the weight that you're putting on. 2-foot jumpers can get away with a little bit extra fluff, but 1-foot jumpers, if you look at them, they're relatively very, very lean. Think Derrick Jones Jr., think De'Aaron Fox, think Zach LaVine. Like very lean, lanky, speedy guys who just pop off the ground. Now, obviously there's LeBron James, but realistically, LeBron James has broken every rule since he's entered the NBA. He's in year 21, still going crazy, still averaging, I don't know what, average 25 or I don't know what he averages this year, but he's broken all rules. So LeBron is the exception to the rule. I don't want to see comments about, what about LeBron? LeBron's heavy. LeBron, like, obviously people vary from the norm, but I'm talking about on average. 1-foot jumpers tend to be lanky, skinny, speedy guys. If you're just lanky and you're just skinny and you're not very speedy, you're probably not the best dunker. You probably, if you're tall, you can dunk, but you don't have that pop that really, puts people on notice. Now, the third component is genetics. Genetics is a real thing. And let's take Zion Williamson, for example. He's very heavy. He's overweight, I would assume, for his frame. But he is an undersized player who plays the 4. He's got larger joints, so naturally he's going to be a heavier guy. For him and what he does in the NBA, he's going to want to be a heavier guy even if it wasn't natural for him, but it is natural for him just because of the sheer size of him. Like it's easy for him to get to 300 pounds. Vice versa, a guy like John Morant, very natural for him to be skinny. He grew up skinny. He's going to probably remain skinny. Now, it doesn't mean he can't put on muscle. He definitely has the genetics to put on a lot of muscle, but I don't think it'll benefit him to put on a significant amount of muscle, considering how just gifted the kid is. Now, when it comes to Zion Williamson, he can definitely lean out, and he should be at that 260, 270 range, but he just obviously has an eating problem. Like, let's be real, he has an eating problem. But besides that, he doesn't want to get so lean where he can jump super high and he can't be as physical as an undersized big. So he has a bigger job than just jumping high. But ideally speaking, he's not where he should be. He's not in that range, that body weight that he should be. Now, another prime example of genetics is LeBron James. Back in 2014, after he lost, I believe it was in the finals, he cut his weight significantly. I'll put some pictures up. He got super skinny in the off season. By the time the season started, like I think probably preseason or early season, the guy was back to being humongous. Like, and he looked more athletic than he's ever looked. Like, if anyone knows Miami LeBron James, that was peak LeBron James. And physically, he was just stronger, bigger than everyone else. And he looked great. His vert looked phenomenal. But that's just simply because he tried to cut below his threshold, his natural threshold, and it just didn't pan out the way he thought it would. I'm sure he struggled with energy. I'm sure he struggled with motor. I'm sure he struggled with the mental drawbacks that come with it. But the second that he got back up to his weight, he looked like peak LeBron James. So now let's talk about my own personal experience. Now, obviously, like I said, I have dunked from as low as around 150 pounds to as high as 202 pounds. I will tell you, at 202 pounds, 5'9" at that, 5'9", 202 pound dunking did not feel good at all. Landing was hard on the joints. I would not want to do that. And a lot of that weight, honestly, was fluff. Now I've been focused on getting my weight down. I'm now at 191, 192 pounds. That's 10-pound difference, and I feel like a world of difference. I feel like I'm pretty close to jumping as high as I've ever jumped. I think if I just get my reps up, I'll be at my peak vertical. Ideally, I think if I want to jump my highest, I will be around the mid 180s. I don't think it's possible for me to get down to 180 at this point without losing a significant amount of muscle, but I'm perfectly fine with that. Vertical jump is not everything for me. I do want to have some size. I do like to play physical. I do like to look good, you know what I mean? So at 185 pounds, I'd be cool with that. Even if I just get to like 188, which could also be ideal, I'll be flying. I believe I'll be flying, and I feel like that's my peak range, 5'9", 185 to 188 pounds. But obviously that varies for everyone else. I mean, you gotta look at yourself, you gotta look at your body. Your goal weight is the weight where you are very lean, still have energy, and can take care of everything else that you gotta do. If you are just getting vertical jump just to jump high, then you just wanna be lean and have the energy to do so. If you are just getting vertical jump to play basketball and you play a physical game, you don't wanna be so skinny where you can get moved around. You probably need a little bit more, which will hurt your vertical slightly, but you can play your game. You know what I'm trying to say? So the general consensus is your ideal body weight is the weight in which you have the energy to do what you do, you're very lean, and you're just healthy, and that's all that matters. So I can't give you specific numbers, but keep those things in mind. The second that you see drawbacks in different aspects of life, it could even be mental. You got to get your body weight back up, and because there is a genetic factor, there's going to be some guy who's 5'9", 220 pounds, gets down to 5'9", 200 pounds, and says, oh no, my mental is suffering. Then you're not meant to jump, you know what I mean? And there's a certain point where you got to decide, hey, like, And let's be real. If you're 5'9", 200 pounds and you're saying you're mental suffering, you're lying. Like you just want to eat. Like you're just like Zion. So you just gotta cut the extra weight, and that's all you gotta do. You gotta get super lean, super strong, relative to your body weight. Obviously, very, very important. Super strong relative to your body weight, not super strong overall, because I could go eat until I'm 300 pounds and squat 1,000 pounds. You know what I mean? But I'm not gonna jump high at all. So those are the main things you gotta consider. In case you somehow did not get the message, I will list it right here. And I'm Jiggy Hills, and I guess I'm out.